Welcome to the Tax Talk. Guess what? Our guest today is the author of this book, The Rudiments of Nigerian Taxation, by Mr. Olubenga S. Obatola. Now, this book is a compendium of knowledge for taxation in Nigeria. My name is Oyinlola Saleh. If you've ever had any challenge or difficulty in understanding taxation and tax administration and several areas that have an impact on the tax landscape, this is the show that helps you address all those issues. On a weekly basis, we treat topics that are vital and relevant to the tax landscape for residents of Lagos State. Now that you have a basic understanding of what the show is about, welcome. We have several segments lined up for your viewing pleasure, the first of which is business news, coming up right now.
This is business news. The Lagos State government has assured stakeholders in the tourism sector that the administration of Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has concluded plans to harmonize tax payment in the state in order to ease burden of business owners. The State's Commissioner for Tourism, Art and Culture, Mrs. Toke Benson Awinka's special advisor to the governor on tax, Mr. Abdul Kabiru Ogungbo, and Executive Chairman, Lagos State Internal Revenue Service, Mr. Ayodele Zubaya, gave the assurance as the stakeholders' engagement with the hospitality sector. The event organized by the state government was a theme addressing current industry challenges, exploring emerging trends, understanding policy framework, and unveiling collaborative opportunities within the entire hospitality value chain. Mr. Abdul Kabir Ogungbo, while disclosing that very soon Governor Sanwo-Olu will unveil a new platform to harmonize various tax payments, which will block all avenues for multiple taxation, charged to stakeholders to always operate within the confines of the law. In her welcome address, Commissioner for Tourism, Arts and Culture, Mrs. Toke Benson Awinka, said the state government is committed to creating an enabling environment for the hospitality sector to thrive, noting that the hospitality sector played a vital role in the economic development of the state. Affirming Governor Sanwo-Olu's commitment to develop the sector, she said policy frameworks are being continually reviewed to ensure they support growth, innovation, and sustainability, as the state government is also focused on improving infrastructure, enhancing security, and promoting Lagos as a prime tourist destination. And that's it on business news.
I will make a start shortlist business. They give them 150K to my friends. Let's do this. Taxes? I didn't even think about this. So I'll have to pay tax to build a house in Lagos. Maybe I should take a remote job. That way, I can avoid taxes. But wait, bloggers and content creators pay taxes too. So tax officials in Lagos monitor digital space for tax payment. Wait, why don't I start importing and exporting of phones and gadgets? Bro, how far now?
Femo, how far?
Bro, I won't join the business where they do.
Oh, small. You just need money. I hope you have your tax clearance certificate.
Tax? Are you kidding me?
Without it, shishi, you know fit do. You have to visit the nearest tax office.
I can't believe it. There's no way out of this. I have to face my tax obligations if I want to start a life in Lagos.
Dear Lagosians, your taxes enable the government to invest in education, healthcare, security, housing, and many more. By continuing to pay your taxes, you are investing in a brighter future for all. This message is brought to you by the Lagos State Internal Revenue Service, LIRS.
Welcome back. I explained to you earlier that this show takes the time to treat several areas related to taxation within Lagos State. Today, we're going to be looking at an area of interest that I'm very curious about as well. And I hope we'll be able to help you turn your curiosity into a firm grasp. We have the Assistant Director, New Growth Areas, Lagos State Internal Revenue Service, LIRS, Mr. Benga Obatola, in the studio with us. And we will be talking about withholding tax. Mr. Obatola, welcome to the Tax Talk. I hope you're comfortable.
Thank you very much. I am.
Oh, that's great to know.
Yeah.
Withholding tax is something I can't claim to have a good grasp of. So I'm looking forward to you clearing a few things up for me.
Okay.
What are withholding taxes and how are they administered by the Lagos State Internal Revenue Service?
Oh, that's a very good and interesting question. When we talk of withholding taxes, we are talking of a form of a tax, right? A form of a tax scheme, a situation whereby tax is paid in advance. Withholding tax is not a tax per se, but just a method of paying taxes, right? There are some transactions that fall within the area of a withholding tax. So once you engage yourself in this transaction with another person, that person with whom you engage yourself will have to deduct part of the money that is due to you. So money that is due to you, part of it will be deducted and remitted to the cover of the government. So that's why we are saying withholding tax. That is something that is being withheld from what is due to you and given to the government for you to be able to claim at the end of the day, maybe when you file your tax returns. That's what we call the withholding tax. And it has to do with some transactions, not all the transactions, but only few transactions.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
And what are these transactions?
Okay. We have some transactions that are specifically listed in the Tax Act. When you look at the Personal Income Tax Act 2004, as amended, we have Section 69, Section 70, 71, 72. These are sections that has to do with withholding taxes. So some of these transactions are dividend, rent, commission, interest, professional fees, director's fees. So these are transactions that are being administered by LRS, withholding tax unit.
How does LRS determine that applicable withholding tax rates for different transactions?
Yes. As I said earlier on, withholding tax is the law that governs the operations of withholding tax is a federal law. It's not a state law. So it is the law that has been handed over to us to manage by the federal government through the parliament. So Lagos State Internal Revenue Service is managing the operations of withholding tax as it concerns individuals. So individuals that are residing in Lagos State. Now, when you look at Lagos State, we have a population of close to 30 million. And out of this huge population, majority of them are not in the tax net. Those that are supposed to be in the tax net are not in the tax net. So it is through these operations of withholding tax that we are getting some of them into the tax net. And we are operating on the basis of the federal law. Laws given to us by the federal government, which have stated the transactions and the rates to apply to each of these transactions.
Going back to the transactions, is there one rate or there are different rates for the transactions?
Okay, each of these transactions has their rates. Like a withholding tax on interest is at the rate of 10%. Withholding tax on royalty at the federal government level is 10%, at the state level is 5%. So withholding tax on director's fees is at 10%. Withholding tax on commission, 5%. Withholding tax on rent, 10%. So all these rates, all these transactions have their different rates.
What are the responsibilities of the taxpayers in regards to withholding taxes in Lagos State?
Yeah, the first responsibility of a taxpayer is to comply with the tax rules and regulations. So that's why in LRS, we always stress the issue of compliance. Compliance is very key. So after complying, after making sure that you comply, then the next responsibility is to deduct withholding tax. If you have a transaction that has to do with withholding tax, then it is your responsibility to deduct. And failure to deduct has a penalty. Then, after the deduction, then the next thing is to remit. So, remit the withholding tax deducted. After the remittance, now apply for credit notes on behalf of the beneficiary. So, which means when we talk of operations of withholding tax now, we are talking of two parties, or we can even say we have three parties. We have the payer, the person who is going to deduct. Then we have the beneficiary, the person who is going to enjoy what has been deducted. Then we also have the government in between, who is going to liaise between the payer and the beneficiary. The job of LRS is to make sure that that money is correctly deducted and correctly remitted. When it is deducted and remitted, then it is our responsibility to ensure that a credit note or certificate of payment, as it is known at the state level, is issued for that beneficiary to enjoy at the end of the year when filing his or her tax returns. So the rules are there, the regulations are there. I'm talking of the tax laws, tax rules, regulations, they are there. So it is now the responsibility of the taxpayer to make sure that those rules and regulations were complied with.
How does LRS ensure compliance with withholding tax regulation?
You see, withholding tax is a scheme, a way by which we bring obscure people into the tax net. You see, look at Lagos State. We have about not less than 15 million or more than 15 million working population. So many people are in businesses, so many people are into so many things. The majority of them are not in the tax net. Are you with me? So if you now do business with someone that is in the tax net, it is the responsibility of that person to deduct part of your money and remit to the tax office. And while remitting to the tax office, you have to give us details about you. From the details given to us about you, we now be able to know how to run after you. Do you understand now? So it's a way of bringing obscure people into the tax net. That's one of the responsibilities or one of the advantages of withholding tax, to bring people into the tax net so that we'll be able to run after them. Are you with me?
Yes.
Now, another thing that we normally do is to make sure that when people are now brought into the tax net, we now write letters to them. We write letters to them. Even there are some existing organizations, existing taxpayers that are already in the tax net, we still have to write letters to them. So to make sure that, okay, please come and file your returns, file your withholding tax return, file your personal account tax returns, and some other return that you are expected to file with LRS. So we write letters to them. We make sure that they file their returns. This is one of the ways by which LRS ensure compliance.
It honestly won't be flattery if I tell you that you've taught me a lot during the course of our discussion so far.
Thank you.
But right now, we need to go on a short break.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
We have a short break coming up. When we come back, Mr. Obatola and I will resume our discussion. Stay tuned.
Have you had a hard time with taxes and understanding tax administration in Lagos State and the complex nature of Nigerian tax law? Do you know what agency or tier of government collects the various types of taxes? Have you ever found yourself asking any of these questions? Join us for your favorite program, The Tax Talk, your infotainment program.
You're still tuned to the Tax Talk, and let me take this opportunity to let you know that you can catch up on all our content by checking out our YouTube channel and engaging with us on our social media platforms. Mr. Obatola, let's get back to business.
Thank you.
Are there any specific exceptions or considerations for certain transactions when it comes to withholding taxes in Lagos State?
Yeah, when it comes to managing withholding taxes in Lagos State, we don't have specific considerations or exceptions. So as long as you fall within the category of those that are to pay, those that are to pay withholding tax on any of these transactions, you just have to pay.
Can you outline the process for remitting withheld taxes to LRS and how the taxpayer would benefit from the payments made on his behalf by the payer?
Oh, that's a very good question. That's a very good one. Assuming that I have a contract, you give me a contract of 100 million. You give me a contract of 100 million. Withholding tax on contracts is at the rate of 5%. Which means instead of giving me 100 million, you are going to give me only 95 million. The balance of 5 million, you are going to remit on my behalf to the tax office. When the money gets to the tax office, the first question is, who is the owner of this money? Oh, this money belongs to Obatola and Co. Are you okay?
Yeah.
Now, the tax office will collect the money from you now and note that, okay, this money belongs to Obatola and Co. A certificate of payment will now be issued. Certificate of payment has two sides. One side for the payer, That's the information about the payer, and another side about the information about the beneficiary. The name of the beneficiary will be there, the address will be there, the amount will be there, and so on. So that this certificate of payment or credit note will now be given back to the payer. So the payer will now hand it over to the beneficiary. So that at the end of the year, when the beneficiary is now submitting his or her tax returns, he will now attach the credit note or the certificate of payment to the tax returns. So once the tax office now sees this, we calculate the tax to be paid by this beneficiary. Let us assume that it's something in the region of about 17 million. And already we have 5 million paid on his behalf through withholding tax before. So we now say, okay, thank you very much, sir. So out of this, your 17 million, 5 million has been paid on your behalf through the process of withholding tax. We now deduct that. That's why we said that withholding tax is an advance payment of what? Payment of tax. So we now deduct the 5 million. It is the balance of 12 million that we now ask him to go and pay.
That's great. What are the penalties for non-compliance with withholding tax regulations in Lagos State?
Yeah, for not complying with withholding tax. You see, here now we are talking of the payer who is supposed to deduct. The first duty is duty to deduct, while the second one is a duty to remit. You see, for not deducting, so eventually we are going to discover that you are supposed to deduct this amount, but you fail to deduct. We calculate the amount, we now add 10% to it, 10% penalty for not deducting. Or if you have deducted and you fail to remit, as the same thing, 10% of what you have deducted but failed to remit. We add to it, so the total, that's the principal sum, and the penalty is now what you have to pay.
Why 10%?
Because that is what is stated in the law. That's what the law states.
Are there any recent updates or changes to withholding tax administration by LRS that taxpayers should be aware of?
You see, I said it earlier that withholding tax is an offshoot of a federal law. You see, it is the federal government that determines the rates, the transactions, and so on. So not LRS. LRS has just been given, okay, take this law, go and manage it, and collect money through the process of managing and use the money to develop the state. And that's what we are doing in LRS. So,
how can taxpayers obtain assistance or clarification regarding withholding tax matters in LRS?
You see, that's very beautiful. LRS, we have a very robust system, you see, that takes care of the masses, the taxpayers. Now, if anybody has any issue that has to do with any form of tax in LRS, it's a matter of just going through our website. You know, in Lagos State now, we have about 39 tax stations and 40 mini tax stations. That's a total of 79, apart from the head office. You see, so anybody can walk into any of these stations and they ask questions. We have a tax champions in any of these stations that are so qualified to the extent that whatever question you ask them in the area of taxation, they will be willing to give you good answers.
You've been a truly awesome guest. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you, madam.
Mr. Benga Obatola, Assistant Director, New Growth Areas, Lagos State Internal Revenue Service, LRS, chatting with us about withholding tax. He's cleared quite a few misconceptions I had personally. I hope you were able to get a better understanding of the topic too. We keep the ball rolling on the tax talk with Tax Did It, but first, a break.
I will make a start shortless business. They give 150K to my friends. Let's do this. Taxes? I didn't even think about this. So I'll have to pay tax to build a house in Lagos. Maybe I should take a remote job. That way, I can avoid taxes. But wait, bloggers and content creators pay taxes too. So tax officials in Lagos monitor digital space for tax payment. Wait, why don't I start importing and exporting of phones and gadgets? Bro, how far now?
Femo, how far?
Bro, I won't join the business where they do.
Oh, smart. You just need money. I hope you have your tax clearance certificate.
Tax? Are you kidding me?
Without it, shishi, you no fit do. You have to visit the nearest tax office.
I can't believe it. There's no way out of this. I have to face my tax obligations if I want to start a life in Lagos.
Dear Lagosians, your taxes enable the government to invest in education, healthcare, security, housing, and many more. By continuing to pay your taxes, you are investing in a brighter future for all. This message is brought to you by the Lagos State Internal Revenue Service, LIRS.
Thank you for staying with us thus far on the Tax Talk. We would appreciate your engagement with us on our social media platforms, as that would also let you relive moments from the show. Also subscribe to our YouTube channel, as the full episode as well as snippets are posted on it. It's time for us to take on Tax Did It. Tax Did It is a segment where we intimate you with some of the projects the state government has undertaken using taxpayers' money. Stay with us.
The last ones that we launched in this same facility about 2 years ago were all imported ferries. All of them, about 22 of them, were all imported ferries. So I'm happy here that the ferries that we're handing over today are all done locally. And like everybody has testified to it, is the best in class, and it's something that we all truly just need to be proud of.
Our goal is to provide a viable alternative mode of transportation, thereby contributing to the economic growth and ecological sustainability of Lagos State.
It's not just about improving transportation. It's about transforming how we live and move. It is about connecting communities, fostering economic growth, and reducing the stress and congestion that often characterize our daily commutes.
For the remainder of the 3 years we have, we will not shrink one day. We will use it to the fullest. We will not give up even when it's 3 months to the end of our tenure. We will try and run it as it is a sprint, while we know that it's a marathon.
The show is rolling to a close, and if you join us regularly, you know this is the point where we step out of the comfy AC of the studio and get onto the streets of Lagos. If you are a first-time viewer, this segment is what we fondly call Tax Your Brain.
It's another exciting day on the streets of Lagos. We are here to tax your brain and Tax Talk. My name is Ellen Carlos, so stay tuned.
Ministry of Works and Infrastructure.
Lagos State Ministry of Work Infrastructure.
Lagos State Ministry of Works and Infrastructure.
Lagos State Ministry of Works and Infrastructure.
It's been an amazing day on the streets of Lagos. My name is Helen Carlos. See you next week.
We have finally come to the end of the Tax Talk, and your presence is not one we take for granted at all. From interactions with our guests on Corporate Talk all the way to Tax Did It, this show seeks to educate and inform, but we throw in a little bit of fun to offset that seriousness. Feel free to check us out on YouTube and social media as well. Anything you miss can be found on those platforms, so don't cheat yourself of the information you may have missed. My name is Oyinlola Sale, and I'm sure you'll be back with us next week, same time, same station. See you then.